Hey everyone, welcome to my video, welcome to my channel. This is WP Learners. My name is Tom and today I'm going to be teaching you how to build your own landing page via WordPress using a plugin called Elementor. Now I'm recording this video, it's currently March in 2020 and we are in the height of the coronavirus epidemic, and I know that you guys need to get online, you need to have a website. If you don't already, and going to a web developer isn't exactly the most cost-effective kind of solution right now. So I thought I'd release this tutorial just to help you out and see if you guys can do this on your own. It's pretty easy when you know what you're doing. You won't have to touch any code at all, really, and I guide you through it step by step. So I hope you find this video helpful. Let me know in the comments if you do. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to throw you into the video. Awesome. So the first step to getting all of this ready and built is to sort out your hosting. Now your hosting, every time you access a website, you are calling upon a server to access a bunch of files. A website is basically just a bunch of files that you're accessing. And so for every website, you need a host, a place to store your files. And so I'm going to kind of guide you guys through just how to set up your own host. It's really simple, really easy, won't take longer than 10 minutes or so to get the ball rolling on your new business website or on how to upgrade your business website with WordPress. And so I use a company called SiteGround. They make things so easy. Their support is great. And so for this tutorial, I'm going to be using these guys. I would highly recommend using these guys. I've put a link in the description, and if you use that link, I benefit a little bit. I get a little bit of commission. So if you find this helpful, consider using that link just to help me out and to keep the channel alive. And so I'm going to be using SiteGround. And so when you come to the home page, you'll want to hover over this hosting tab and click web hosting, which will take you to the page that I am currently on right now. And you'll have different plans, and you can see that each plan has a different amount of features. For most of you, this kind of startup plan will be fine. It won't really matter too much which one you choose. For most of you, you can kind of go between the startup or the grow big plans. And so what you want to do is you want to click get plan. It will take me through to another page. And this section here, if you've already got a domain name, so the URL that you type in your web browser, if you've already got one of those, you can migrate this over. So I'm going to click I already have a domain, and I can put that in there. I'm going to put a test one in just for purpose for the video purposes. I'm not going to use a real one. And so if I was to use, I don't know, let's just use my current website, -test. And proceed. They'll check if that's available, which I'm sure it will be. There we go. It will then ask you for account information for you to register, and it will ask for your payment details. I'm not going to do this because I already have an account set up, but this is just like filling in any other kind of information that you've ever done on a website before. It shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. You can choose whether you have this for 12 months, or if you have a trial period and you can kind of pay a lesser fee for that. But I would recommend going for 12 months just for simplicity's sake. And you can kind of choose if you want any of these extra services. You can go through, sort the payment out, and then you will be brought to this page. This is your account dashboard. Whilst it just loads, there we go. And so your dashboard is just a place where they've got some kind of guides, some blog posts, but the main thing that you're going to want to kind of focus on is this little services section here. Click on services and you'll see that your hosting plan will pop up in this section here. So this is the one that I've got set up for this video. And so I'm going to click this setup site button. And that will take me through here. And so you can either have a new domain, an existing domain, or a temporary domain. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to use a temporary one because it won't charge me anything extra. If you've already registered one, you can choose this section, or if you need a new one, you can choose this section here, the new domain section. So I'm going to click temporary domain. And so I click continue on that. And then it's going to ask me if I want to migrate a website, so if I want to move one over or start a new one. In this video, we're going to be starting a new website, so I will select that option. It then gives me a bunch of options down here. And so for every single video that I will ever create, I will always be using WordPress. WordPress makes it super simple to change and edit your sites, as you will soon see. So I'm going to choose WordPress. I'm going to put in my email address here, which is tw@tomwoodhouse.co.uk. Put in a password. And click continue. Once I've done that, it will start setting up my site. I don't want to save that. I don't want to add this little extra. I can skip that and finish. So now it's just creating my site. If this takes long, I'll skip to once it's all done. So just bear with me and I'll see you on the other side. Awesome. So I just had to refresh my page just to get it to show up. So no problems there. Once it's all made, if you click on this little website tab, it will appear here. And there'll be a few available extras just down in this little section here. And one thing that you're going to want to add is an SSL. This just allows your site to be more secure. Google loves it when you've got an SSL, so you're more likely to appear in search results. And pretty much any site that takes a transaction, so you are charging people for what you are offering through the site, is required to have an SSL. So I'm going to add that here. So this section is free. So I'm just going to select this one, assign it to this domain. It says it's free, activate. Awesome. And so now all I need to do is put let's encrypt in this little drop down section, click get. It will then assign that SSL to my domain and my whole website will then be encrypted. Whilst that's being processed, I'm going to move on to the next section, which is just to check that your WordPress website has been installed as expected. And so I'm going to click on this little button here that says install and manage. And so you'll see here that I've already got an installation. And so if I hover over this little door icon, it will say log in to admin panel. Now here you will need to use the details that you used when you set up the website, so your email and the password that you chose, to log in to the WordPress website. So it will say welcome to your WordPress website, start now. I don't want any of these sort of templates, so I'm just going to keep this 2017 template, the default option, selected. Click on that. Okay, and so this is your website. It doesn't look like much. It doesn't really look like the kind of end result we're going for. So don't worry about that. We'll change it all later. I'm just going to press continue for now. I don't need any of this. So just deselect anything that's been selected and then press continue. If you want, you can select Google Analytics and you can optimize it for SEO purposes. I don't need that for this, but you might select those and it will configure those things for you. I'm going to click complete. Just going to wait for this all to install over now. Okay, once that's done, you want to go to your dashboard. And here we have our WordPress website. It's not going to look like a whole lot at the moment, as you can see. It's just a basic blogging template. This is all going to change in just a moment. So I'm going to finish this section here. You'll see me in just a second. I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, so in this next section, we're going to be looking at the plugins and the theme that you need to install, and then we're going to look at creating the header. The header is basically, if I jump over to the reference site, the one I've already built, if it wants to load, There we go. The header is this section here. And so it's this blue section, this white section with the logo and the business hours and the email address. That's your header, and so we're going to build that first. But first we need to install plugins. These are things that add functionality to your site. This is going to help you to visually build your website without having to touch pieces of code and all of that. And so first things first, let's install a theme. A theme is just kind of like, it's a framework for your site to sit on. And so it makes it look better, and it helps you to build the visual elements of your website. And so you're going to click on Add New. So you want to go to Appearance and Themes, Add New. Once you're there, I want you to go into this search bar on the right, and I want you to search Astra. Astra on the surface is free, but it is also a premium theme, and when you buy the premium version, you have access to a lot of templates that you can just import it to your website in one click. I'm just going to load up the Astra website real quick, just so that you can see what it's all about. Okay, so here we are on Astra's website. The company that makes this theme makes a lot of other things. You can see down here they have things for Elementor, which is the plugin that we will be using to build our website. Another rival of Elementor, Beaver Builder, WooCommerce, which is the way that you sell products through your website, LearnDash, which is how you sell courses through your website, and so on. And so if I quickly go on to the Pro page, I will put a link in the description to access this as well. You can see all of the sort of extra options you get as a result of buying the Pro version. And it just makes managing and building your website that little bit easier, and so you don't really have to know any sort of kind of code. You can do everything visually. So I would always recommend going with the Pro version. And so I'm just going to install the theme on this website now. Okay, so we've installed it. Then we just need to activate it. And so that's now active on our website. So you'll see that the front end will look just a little bit different now to how it did a minute ago. Still doesn't look amazing. Don't worry, we're going to change that real quick. Just before we get on to building the actual website and starting on the header, we need to install two plugins. It's actually one plugin, but it's an add-on for the initial plugin. So you can see here that I've got Elementor. Now Elementor is the thing that we are going to use to build the website visually via drag and drop. It's going to be really easy. But for this tutorial, you will need Elementor Pro. You can see there's an update available. I'll do that later. It's not important for this video. And so you will need Elementor Pro. The reason you will need Pro is because in this header here and the business website, you'll see that there are certain things that happen when we interact with it, but the main thing is this mobile responsiveness here. And being able to have a drop down and for it just to work more simply. I have tried it using free plugins. It is just faffy, doesn't work as well, and so for this tutorial I am strongly recommending you have the Pro version. Again, the link is in the description. It is an affiliate link. I will earn commission if you go ahead with that. That just supports me if you find this helpful. And so I've got Elementor and Elementor Pro installed. So once you have downloaded Elementor, what you're going to want to do is you want to go to the Add New Plugin section. And when you download it, you will get two files, elementorpro.zip and elementor.zip. You need to install both of them by clicking this Upload Plugin button and selecting them here and clicking Install Now. Once you've done that, you need to activate it. There'll be a blue button that says Activate, and then you'll have exactly the same thing that I have here on my screen. So once you've done that, you're pretty much ready to go on starting to build your website. So we are going to start with the header. And so to start on that, what you want to do is you want to hover over this template section on the back end of your website. By the way, if you ever need to get back to this part of the website and you're just on the front end of your website, all you need to do, I'm going to show you now, is type in your browser /wp-admin. And that will either take you to a login screen or log you back into the dashboard. So that's how you access all of this. So go to templates, then you want to go to theme builder. Okay, so you go to theme builder, and now we're going to be creating a header. So you click on the header tab, add new. I'm just going to call this header. Make sure this is selected to header as well, and create template. This is now going to take you through to Elementor, where you're going to build out your header visually via drag and drop. I'm going to click the X here, and so we have a blank canvas in front of us, and somehow we need to replicate this design here. Okay, so I'm going to start with this little blue section at the top. Okay, so to do that, I want you to click this little icon in the top right of this little sidebar here. I then want you to click on the search widget tab and search inner section. Awesome, okay, and so here we've got one main section, which I'm hovering over right now, and then we've got an inner section. The reason I'm using an inner section to keep it kind of simple is that it gives us a lot more flexibility in the layouts that we can create. So I will most likely always be using an inner section. Okay, and so now we need to get this background, we need to get this color right. So what I want you to do is to click on the main section. If you can never access it easily, you can right click and you will get this panel here. Click Navigator, and then this top section is this very first main section here. And so you click on there and you'll get this tab on the left. What I want you to do is click on Style, and then you're going to get this background tab here. And so all we do to make this background the right color is click on Classic, and you'll see we've got a color option here. And so we need to match the color to what is on the reference website. Okay, so this blue here. Luckily, I have it in a color picker that I have on my browser, so I'm going to select that here. So this is it's called a hex code. You don't really need to know what that means, you just need to know that it tells the computer what color to make something, okay? And so just copy this code here, 089CF4, into this tab here on Elementor. And you'll see that our section has now turned blue. Now we need to make this section just a little bit smaller, because as you can see on the reference website, it's quite thin. And so you want to click this little column here. Okay, so if you hover over the section, you'll see these little grey icons. These represent columns, okay? So click on this column, this top column, and then you want to go onto this Advanced tab here. The reason that you want to go into this Advanced tab is for these settings here. You'll see margin and you'll see padding. Padding is basically, it's providing space inside of something. So if I wanted to provide space inside this section that I'm hovering over now, I'd add some padding in there. Margin is the space outside. So if I want to create space between one row and another, I can do that here. Now these columns have padding added automatically, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to type in 0 here, and you can see that it's just reduced in size. The reason that it did that is that this little button links all of these values together. So whatever number I put in this section, it will follow whatever number I put in. So if I put in 20, you can see everything changes to 20, but I want 0. Now you can do this in this column as well, just to make sure that you've like made the section as small as possible. It doesn't have any difference here in this case. So now we've got this section at the top. It's going to disappear because there's no content in it yet. And so let's populate this section with some content. So you can see we've got this menu on the left and we've got these social icons on the right. I have not yet created a menu. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment, but to start off, let's start with these social icons here on the right. So all I need to do is search social icons. You can see that I've got several options here, but I'm going to use this one. I'm going to put it in, if it's going to let me. There we go. In this column over here. And by default, I've got Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm going to leave this. You can change this out for whatever you want. And so to do that, you just click on this tab and you click on Icon Library, and you've got lots of different choices in here. Now you can see on the reference website they're smaller and there's no kind of colored background. To get rid of the background, you just click on this Style tab. On this color section here, you want to click Custom. And then the primary color, you're going to want to move all the way down to transparent. You can see on the right here that the background has disappeared. And so you've now got these kind of like transparent backgrounds and the icons are white. You can see these are all aligned to the right, so that's really easy. All we need to do is go back to content. You can see this little section here, alignment, and you can click right. And then if I collapse this, you'll see they're now all aligned to the right. We need to make them just a little bit smaller, so I'm going to go back to the Style tab. In size, I'm just going to type in 1 and go upwards from that point onwards. 15 looks about okay, and we're going to leave that there. Okay, so you can see on the reference website we have this menu on the left in this blue section here. And so before you can put that in Elementor, you need to create it on the WordPress dashboard. So you can either type in /wp admin on your URL, or you can just click backwards on this black bar here by clicking on this section. It will take you back to here. And so when you're back in the dashboard, you need to go to Appearance and then Menus. It will then take you to this page here. On this page, you will be able to create any menu that you want to display anywhere on your website. And so we're going to create our main menu here. So to create a new menu, there'll be a little blue Create a New Menu button. I've already done it, so I've got the main menu here ready to go. But you click that and you'll have the same thing here. And then you'll notice we have no pages yet. That's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to put a custom link in. Now put a hashtag in this section here, because every time someone clicks it, it will just redirect back to the home page. And because we haven't got a page to allocate to it yet, that's totally fine. I will show you how to correct that later on. And so just for now, to get this menu visually on the website, we're going to create a custom link. And so you put the hashtag in and we type in home, and then we repeat the process. So we've then got about, services, and contact. Click Save, and that menu will now be able to be selected within Elementor. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our theme builder, and we'll see headers here, hover over it and click Edit with Elementor. Okay, we're back up, and so what you want to do is, if it doesn't appear here, you want to search for nav menu. We're going to throw it into this column over here. And you'll see it's appeared, but it doesn't look quite the same yet. So if I click on the reference website version, we can copy the settings that I have already made on this website. So first things first, we've selected main, we've selected the layout as horizontal. We need to align it to the left. So if I align that to the left, that's fine. We've also got an overline, which means every time we hover over the menu items, you'll have an overline. We can edit how that looks in just a moment. You've then got mobile settings here, so that once you get past a certain width, it will trickle down into a mobile version. And obviously this doesn't look amazing at the moment, but there you go, seeing it work. I'm going to click back on desktop, and we're going to change the styling. So to change the color of this text, we're going to hover over the typography section and click this little pencil icon. And we want to change the font. So what we want to change this to is Open Sans. Okay. We then want to change the font weight. I'm going to use 600. This just changes how bold the font is. The size looks a little bit big, so we're going to change this. What size have we got on this reference website? We've got 11, so we're going to change our font size to 11 too. You'll also notice on the reference website, this was all capitals. We can do that really easily by clicking on transform and uppercase. Okay. I'm now going to change this text color to white. So to do that, you'll see the text color tab here, and we'll just change that to white, like so. On the reference website, when we hover, it turns black. So I'm also going to do that as well. Like so. So you'll see now as I hover, the text changes to black. Okay, so that kind of sorts that section out for us. We just need to sort the mobile version of this menu out now. And so you can do that at the bottom. There's this little computer icon. If you click that, you can view the site in different widths. So we're going to go to mobile. And so we need this little section to go over to the left. So if we click on the content on the edit nav menu section, you'll see align. We've either got a side or center. Currently this isn't going to do anything though, because both sections are taking up too much width. Okay. Now to change this, you want to hover over this column for the menu, and you want to change that to around 60. Okay, 60%, and then this column you want on the layout tab to change this to 40, and you'll now see that this is in the same section, which is great. Now if we switch over to the reference website again, just to check how it looks there, you'll see I actually haven't changed it over, so I'm going to quickly do that now so that it reflects how we're building it. You'll see that these bars are white and it matches the background of that blue color. We can also align it to the left, which is great. And I'm going to go into the style section, and you'll see on this toggle button section, we can change the color to white, and we can match that background color, which I have pre-selected over here, to the background. And now we've got a nice mobile header section. Now if I collapse this tab, if I click it, we have this drop down, but I want this to be full width. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go back into the edit nav menu section, click on content. Now this little full width tab here is set to off, to no. So I'm going to click that and just switch it on, and we'll see how that changes things. You'll see that that's now all full width, and it looks pretty decent. So that's that little top bar section done now. I'm going to click Save Draft here, just so we don't lose any work. And so now I'm going to switch back to desktop view. So my voice is quite sore, so you might hear some cracks in my voice. And you'll see that it's all nice and clean. And so now we're going to switch over and we are going to replicate this section here. So we are going to need 3 columns for this. So I want you to add another inner section right here, and you'll get 2 columns by default. Now to add another column, you just need to right click on the grey column icon and click Add New Column. And you'll see that we've now got 3 columns, which is perfect for what we need right now. So first things first, we need this little business hours section here. So on the widget selector over here, the element selector, I'm going to search for icon list. Now by default, this is going to switch out to 3. I'm going to delete these 2 by pressing this X icon here. And I'm going to switch this icon, so I've clicked on this tab, I'm going to switch it by clicking icon library and then clock. Search for clock. I'm going to use this first one here. Click insert and you'll see we have the clock. We need to change this text to say opening hours 9 till 5. So on this style section now, we're going to switch this up to replicate what is already here. So if you look on the style section under the icon tab, you'll see we've got this blue color again. So I'm going to copy that over under color, copy and paste. That's now in. And it is also 25 pixels in size. Okay. As for the text itself, we haven't changed any settings here, but we have in here, we've set it to Open Sans at the default font size. So I'm going to just replicate that, click on typography and select Open Sans, and now we have a similar sort of looking section. You'll see that there's a little bit of spacing around everything. We're going to correct that now. And so if I click on the section here, you'll see that we've got a little bit of padding. So we're just providing just a little bit of space here. So I'm clicking on our section. We've got 20 on top, 10 on right, 20 on bottom, 10 on left. So 20, oh, I need to click Do Not Link, 10, 20, 10. Okay, great. Starting to get somewhere now. In this next section in the middle, what we've got is a placeholder logo. Now just to kind of keep things simple, I'm just going to use text here, but you could use an image instead. To do that, just go to your element selector, search for image. I've just realized I made a mistake. I need to throw this in this column here. Like that, and not outside of the column. See, even I still make mistakes, and that's okay. And so let's get back to it. So you can add an image in if you want to, and just throw it into this middle column. But for this tutorial, I'm going to use a heading. Okay, so I'm just going to type in the text here that we've got on the reference website, which is all in caps, place holder. Now, to get it to display on 2 lines like I have here, you could just press the enter button, but that actually doesn't make a difference. So what we need to do is we need to use a little clever piece of code. Do not worry, all you need to do is type 2 letters. So we have this little chevron icon here. You type the letter B and then R, not in capitals, and close the chevron, and you'll see that it's now gone underneath. This is what we call a break tag. You don't need to know what that means. You just need to know that it puts things on different lines. And you'll also notice that this is bolder than the first line. The way that we do that, I'm first going to set the font to the correct font, which is Open Sans, and I'm going to change the font weight to 200 so that we have this thin looking font here. I'm then going to add just a little bit more code. It's really easy. I want you to have another open bracket or chevron, whatever you want to call it, and write the word span. Okay, close that. I then want you to do, just copy what I write here. So I've got a chevron, a backslash, span, and then a closing chevron or bracket. What this does is this contains the text holder in its own little space, so I can kind of apply different styles to this piece of text. So to do that, I write the word style, an equal sign, 2 speech marks. I'm then going to write font weight. I'm going to make that a font weight of 600. Okay, like so. And that is all that there is to that section. Not so hard. You've just written some code. You can feel great about yourself for doing that. But that's as complicated as it's ever going to get in this tutorial. And so now we've got our logo, and we're going to make another email section over here. To make this really easy, Elementor has a really cool function. If you right-click the one that we've already made and click duplicate, or in fact, no, let's use the copy function. Just like you'd use any kind of copy and paste, you can paste something over here. And we're just going to switch out what icon we're using. So I'm going to click on the opening hours clock icon, search for envelope, insert, and we've switched that over. Let's change the text to info@email.com. You can change that to whatever you want, okay? Let's just check how that looks in mobile. Not amazing. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hide this email section on mobile. Now to do that, I'm going to click on it and then going to go to advanced, scroll down to responsive, and hide on mobile. Okay. I am then going to click on the column where this opening hours icon is. I'm going to put 40, let's go with 50% there. And then on the logo, I'm also going to put 50% in there so it's on the same line. And now if I collapse this tab, you'll see how it looks. You've got the logo, the opening hours, and then the blue bar at the top. But if we switch back to desktop view, both icons are visible. Okay, we've just got one little bit left to finish this section up. If we click on the main section again, and we click on Style, under the Border tab, you'll notice I have a few settings set here, just to create this little line here. Okay, so if I click on that section on our site that we're building right now, go to Style, Border, I'm going to click this to make sure that it doesn't link the values together. I'm going to just type the number 1 into the bottom here. I'm going to click solid on border type. I've done that in the wrong section. Click 0 on there. So you want to click solid on this section here, and then you want to put in 0 in everything else, unlink the tabs, and then put 1 in the bottom. And we want to change that to this color. DC, DC, DC. So I'm going to do that now. And we have the line here. So now we have installed all of our plugins, our theme, and we have created our header. I'm going to jump over now and teach you guys how to build out the bulk of the content of the site, which I'm just going to quickly show you before we move over. So if I click here, let me just update this real quick. Just delete that from my URL. It's taking its time. There we go. So next we're going to be building all of this section out here. So just bear with me, I'll see you in just a second. Awesome, so just before we jump over to build out the rest of that main section that I've just shown you, we need to do one thing that I forgot to just point out to you. So this green publish button here on the Elementor tab, you need to press that, and then you need to add a condition. So this is just, Elementor is asking, okay, when do you want me to display this header? And so we click on add condition, and it automatically goes to entire site. You want to keep it as that, you want to press save and close, and then that will be active on the rest of the website now, okay? And so let's move on to building the bulk of the landing page out. So we're going to exit to the dashboard. And then we're going to go quickly down into pages, and we're going to click add new. And once this loads, we're going to quickly create the page that we are going to build. So I'm just going to type in home here. Now, an important step is on the right hand side, you want to click on this drop down page attributes tab. And under template, you want to select Elementor full width. This will just change the structure of the page and make it look like the version that I showed you previously. So the full width of the browser, essentially. And then we're going to click publish, and that will now be live, essentially. But before we go into editing it, we just need to do one more thing. We need to go to the settings tab on the left, go into reading, click on this little section here that says a static page, and you want to choose home for the home page, okay? Click save on those changes. I just want to check something real quick before we move on. Okay, we've got that correct. If you go on that settings tab, you go to permalinks, and the permalinks are not set to post name, just switch that over, because it means when you type it into the browser, it won't look like a funny code or anything like that. It will just be the name of the page that you're on. So just switch that over if it's not the case. Okay, let's go back to pages. And we're going to hover over the home page, click on it. And then we're going to click edit with Elementor. Awesome. So the first thing we're going to start with, I'm just looking at our reference website right now, the one that I made earlier. We're going to start with this big section here. It may be referred to by other people as a hero section. That refers to the image as a hero image. It fills the entire section, and it's quite a large section that grabs people's attention. So we're going to build this out. So first things first, we're going to grab an inner section, and we're going to throw it in there. And then we're going to click on the first main section here. Click on Style, Background Classic, and then we're going to throw an image in. So I haven't currently got the image that I was using there, so let me just quickly find that. I'm using a website called Unsplash, which is all royalty-free images, so feel free to find images that are relevant to your business. All I did to find the image on the reference site is search business. Let's scroll on. There it is on the right. I'm going to download that real quick. Awesome. Now, best practice is to resize these images because they can be quite big. Just to keep things quick and smooth, I'm not going to do that because my website isn't going to be used properly. Therefore, loading times aren't really a concern to me. But try and keep your image sizes as small as possible, just so loading times are really quick and easy, because you can see this is taking a little bit of time to upload as well. So once that is done, I will select that image, and that will be the background, and I'll show you what settings to apply to make it look like the reference website. So we'll have this big background in the background there, this title here, this text, and this button that has a nice little animation attached to it. Okay, it's taking its time, but we'll get there. There we go. Insert media. Okay, so you can see the background's changed, but you can't see the image, and the section is far too small. So under the size section here, you want to click cover. And so you can see it's kind of center aligned it now. And then we'll use the reference on the reference website to see how big we've made the section. So let's just load up Elementor and see what settings we have used. I'll set some basic ones whilst that's loading. So you want to go to layout, height, min height, and it automatically sets it to 400. Awesome, so we've got this now loaded. So I'm going to click on this main section here, and we have set a minimum height of 490 pixels. So let me just type that in here, and now that should be near enough the same. We've got two columns here, one that is not used and one that is populated with content. So we need to kind of just check the width on this. So I've set it as 65% of the entire row. So we're going to replicate that as well. 65%. Sorry, that's in the section. I want to do that in the column. There we go. So we've set it now to 65. And so we can now start populating this with some content. So first things first, we are going to need this big header here. And I've just used the eye-catching title placeholder. You can replace this with whatever you want. I'm going to use the same one just to show you how I made that. So we're going to add a heading in here. Now in the reference website, we have used the Open Sans font at a size of 68 pixels. So we're going to do that as well. Open Sans, 68. And now obviously this doesn't look the same yet, so we need to change the font weight. We're going to switch that down to 200. And we're just going to change the content here. So I'm going to write all in capitals, eye-catching title, and we're going to put one of those BR tags, the break tags, in there to separate the lines, like so. We're also going to do what we did on the logo, so we're going to put a span tag around the title, just so that we can change this title bit here to a different font weight to make it bolder, essentially. So we're going to do that as well. So we're going to put a span style equals, then 2 speech marks, font hyphen weight to 600, and then semicolon. Close the tag, like so. There we go. And now we've got this eye-catching title placeholder in looking exactly the same as it did on the reference website. We now need this text section here. You again change it to whatever you want it to be. I've just used placeholder text in this section right here. So let's throw it in. Okay, I'm just going to quickly copy this over. Oh, it was the same anyway. No worries. And then we're going to go into the Style tab and make sure that this looks like it does on the reference website. So you can see that we've got a different text color on the reference website here. So let's check what color that is. It's set to the default in that website, so maybe it's just that the font size is different. So let's check that. So we've got a font size of 18. Okie dokie. You can see that there's a bit of space on the right hand side of this text though, and that's so that it doesn't overlap with the image. So if you remember earlier, I said that to provide space within inside an element, we need to use some padding. So we're going to do that via the Advanced tab here. And on the reference website, we have set 90 pixels worth of padding on the right hand side of this text element here. So we're going to do that, and so remember to unlink the values here, add 90 pixels, and you can see now that it doesn't overlap this brown briefcase on the right, and it kind of sits nicely in its own little section there. And so the only thing left to do now is to add this blue button, and so that's relatively easy as well. So we're going to go back to the element selector, search for a button, it's right there. Okay, we've inserted that, and obviously it looks a little bit different to what we have on the reference website, so let's change the styling. First things first, the text. So we want to write here under text, get started. And then we want to go to the style tab. By the way, to put a link to this button, to kind of whenever someone clicks on it and you want it to take them somewhere, you put the link in this section here. So if I wanted to take them to the contact page, I would put in whatever the website URL is. So here's mine, /contact. Easy as that, and that button will link to that page. So let's go to the style tab. And replicate these settings here on this website, our reference website. So I've set the background color to our standard blue color. So we're going to do that here. Okay. And I've also made this button quite a bit bigger. So I've set the border radius. So this is the border radius determines how your button kind of curves in the corners. So if I was to put 100 border radius, you can see how the button changes when I do that. But we're not going to do that. We're going to set that to 0, so it's completely like a straight rectangle, essentially. And then the padding section is going to provide some space to make this button look bigger. So on the reference website, we've got 20 pixels on the top, 20 pixels on the bottom, and 100 to the left and to the right. So let's replicate that here. 20. Let's unlink the tab and unlink the values. 100, 20, 100. The only thing that we need to do now is just make sure this text is the same as the one on the reference website. And we haven't changed any settings here, so that should be just around the same. The only other thing here is that we've got this nice little animation that makes the button shrink when you hover over it. Easy solution to get that to work is to go back onto hover on the style tab, and you can see here that you've got a hover animation. Just select shrink and we've got the same effect. And so now we've got our first section built. Okay, so things are starting to take shape just a little bit. So before we go further, it's good practice to check how everything looks in mobile. So we're going to go and hover over this little desktop icon in the bottom of the editor, and we're going to select mobile. Okay, so you can see that some things are a little bit out of whack. Now if we go back to the reference website, you can see things look a little bit different here. And so we can change the settings based on what screen size people are viewing the website on, okay? And so the first thing is we're going to change the position of the background. So we click on the main section and go to the style section. You can see that we've got the same background, but the position is center, center, okay? So let's replicate that. Let's go to style. Let's select our image again, and let's make sure that's set to cover and center, center, like so. But obviously things are still not brilliant because the big eye-catching title is kind of overlapping with the image and the guy holding the briefcase. So we need to change some things there too. So you can see that the title is a lot smaller on mobile. We have actually set it to 32 pixels, okay? So we need to do that over here too. 32 pixels. Now let's change the size of this text. On the reference website, we have used a font size of 15. So let's move back. Let's give it a font size of 15. And we're going to add just a little bit more padding to get this to not overlap with that brown briefcase there. So let's select it to 130 pixels. Not 1300, that would be bad. Okay, so that's looking okay now. And we've got that set quite nicely. So we can leave that section. So let's go back into desktop mode on both the reference website and the one that we are building together. Now let's focus on this dark blue call to action section here. The purpose of this section is to really just grab a user's attention and to help them create an action that you want them to take. So if you want them to fill in a form to get in touch with you, you kind of put some functions in here to make that happen. And so again, we've got the heading text here, and you can see we've got a span again. So you've got used to using this by now. We've got some just kind of sub-caption text underneath and another button. Looks a little bit different to that one, still shrinks, so let's go and make that section now. So we're going to need another inner section. Like that. And we're going to need to set this background to that dark blue color. So we'll go onto the section, style, background, classic, color. Let's see what we used on this website, on the reference one. So we used the code 373E48. So I'm going to copy and paste that over onto our website we're building together. And there we go. We've got this nice dark blue color now. The other thing to notice is that, again, the column widths are different. They're not an equal split. So let's just double check on here. So I've set it to around 70%. So let's replicate that on the column on the website we're building together. There we go, 70%. If you need to remember how to get there, you hover over the gray icon, which selects the column. You go to layout, and then this column width section here determines that for you. And so we've now got to add the heading in. So let's throw that heading into that column. Let's first sort the styling out, because obviously you can't see that text. Let's change the color to white. Click on the typography section. Let's make sure we've got Open Sans selected. And the weight to 200. I'm just going to check the font size to make sure that it's not anything different. So no, we haven't set the font size to anything different here. So we'll keep the font size the same on the site we're building together. Obviously, we need to replicate this section here with the title. And we've done that a couple times now. So one easy thing to do actually is you can copy an element and paste the style here if you want to. That makes it easier. I'm not going to, just because I want to make sure that you guys are familiar with how it's actually achieved. I'd rather you understand how to do it than have to copy and paste everything. So let's type in, all in capitals, call to action, title, and then we're going to make another span. Style equals font weight of 600. Let's close the span like that. And now we have our title. Let's add some text just underneath. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this text into this section. Let's change the color of the font to white. Let's just see how that looks. Okay, so we're getting there. We need to add a few more styling bits to make sure that this looks okay. So we've got a little bit of padding in on this section here, or margin. Let's just double check what that is. So I think we have set it on the inner section. No, so we've added 50 to the left of this little inner section here. So let's do that first. We've done that on the heading. There we go. We want to do that on the text as well. Let's just get rid of that 90 padding on the right and add 50 in there like so. And we want to add just a little bit of space at the top and bottom of this. So we're going to click the inner section. You can see I've selected it at the top here. And then on margin top, I'm going to put, let's try 30 to begin with and 30 on the bottom. Let's see how that looks. Not sure I like that too much because obviously it makes this section look a lot bigger than it needs to be. So what we're actually going to do is that by default, sometimes Elementor adds padding that you can't see. And it adds it to the columns. So I want to click on this column and put 0 on the padding there. And do the same for that column there. And then we're going to add a little bit of space. Only a little bit, just to make things look a bit better. 20 on top, 20 on bottom. Let's have a look at how that looks in comparison. Okay, so we've probably got a little bit more size on here. I'm not too fussed about that. I don't think it makes any major difference. You can play around with the settings to kind of achieve the result that you want to. I'm okay with this, so we're gonna crack on. So I'm gonna copy this button. I'm gonna throw it into this column over here. And now obviously I need to change some settings because this button is smaller and it has also got no background, but it's got a white border. So I've clicked on this button. I'm going to go to Style. And we're going to replicate all these settings over here. So first things first, I want to get rid of this background. So we'll go to Style and we'll drag the slider all the way over to the left to get a transparent background. Okay. We're then going to click on Border Type Solid. And on the reference website, we've got 2 all around. And it was a white border. This button was also a lot smaller, so let's just check the padding settings here. So we've got 15 on the top and the bottom, and 60 on the left and the right. So let's replicate that here. 60, 60, 15, and 15. Awesome. Okay, so we still need to add just a few things here to make this work a lot better. So we need to make sure that the column on this side over here is at the right width. So it is around the right width, but we need to align this button. So let's click on the button. And align it over to the right. And you can see now it's starting to take shape. There is also just a bit of spacing here. So the button is not as close to the top of the column than it is in our website we're building together. So let's find those settings to see what we did to make that happen. So if we click on the inner section and go to Layout, we've got vertical align set to middle. So let's do that and see what effect it has on our site over here. Layout, vertical align, middle. And you can see that the column and the elements within the column then move to the middle of the column. So that's a nice little trick just to kind of get things nice and spaced out within columns and rows. Okay, so I'm now happy with that section, and we're going to move on to the next one. But first, actually, like I said, good practice to check the mobile view. So you can see it's all a bit out of whack here. So let's check how we've done it on our reference website. So we've got everything aligned to the left, and we've got the button aligned to the left as well. So let's click on our title and go to content, and you can see that this little mobile icon means that we're editing the mobile version of this, so we'll click left. But we also need to remember that we've got a bunch of padding on the right hand side, on the left hand side here. But we do want to give it just a little bit to make sure that it's not straight on the side like that. So I'm going to give it 10. I'm going to give this side 10 as well. And we're going to reduce the padding on mobile. Let's turn it down to 100. No, actually, no, let's give it 10. That works quite nicely. And then we'll click on the button, left align that, and now we're near enough at the same place. We've got a little bit more text in this section than we do on here, so if you want to replicate that, you can delete some text, like so. We can just click on here, like that, and there we go. So that section's looking just a little bit better now. Okay, so let's move on to the next section. And so on our reference website, let's go back to desktop mode. We have this who we are section over here, okay? And we've got this nice little image over here that we can use as well, but you can use any image that you want. And so this is relatively simple. It's nothing we've not seen before. We've got a button like we've seen, some text, and the heading with this bold section as well. So let's go and replicate this on our site that we're building together. Go back to desktop, and again, throw in let's get my words right. Let's get an inner section in there. 2. And now we're going to set a minimum height to this section. So let's go and see what we've used on the reference website. We've used a minimum height of 450 pixels. And also note that we've got a column position of middle set as well. So height, min height, 450, column position middle as by default. We've also set this column to a little bit wider than this column, so we've got a 60-40 split here. So if we go back over to our section here, let's make this column 60% of the width. This one by default will be set to 40. We've also, if you notice, got slightly different coloured. No, we haven't. It's still white. I'm jumping ahead of myself. We've got this grey section afterwards. And so let's go with the header first. So we need to create a header called who we are. So let's do that over here. Who we are. Let's change the styling to Open Sans. We've also set this font size to, let's have a look, 38 pixels. So let's do that as well. Font weight of 300. And again, we'll use a span tag to make the R bolder than the rest of the text. So span style equals 2 exclamation marks, font hyphen weight 600. Close the tag. There we go. Again, let's copy some text over. I'm just going to use the text from up here. Like so. This text looks just a little bit smaller than what we've got by default, so let's go and see if we've changed any settings here. We haven't, but I'm going to change some on our side just to make things look a bit more consistent. So let's just kind of change this to the default setting. There we go. Just delete the 18. And then we're just going to copy the button from the top section into this one. So copy by right clicking and paste. Let's change the text to contact. And obviously in a normal scenario, you would build out the relevant pages, so you would link this button to the contact section, to the contact page, sorry. So if you do that, then just remember to change the link here. Switch it to contact us. And let's just change the font weight just a little bit. So let's go to Style, Typography, Weight. Let's see what works. Let's keep it at 600. Just like that. Okay, and now we need an image in this right-hand section. So I'm going to use one that we've already uploaded. So you want to go to the element selector and then go to image. Drag it in. Just like that. And I'm going to use this image here. And there we go. So let's just see how that looks in mobile. Not too bad. We could probably take some padding away from this text here. There we go. And to be honest, that's kind of sorted itself out. Sometimes Elementor does a good job at that, sometimes it doesn't. So it's always worth checking. I'm going to leave that as it is. So let's go back into desktop mode. And now we need to create this gray section here, the Our Services section. So let's check what height we have given this section. So we've just populated this with content, and it's got a natural height. So we didn't necessarily set a minimum height here, and that's okay. I just want to grab the background color here as well. So the background color is ED, ED, ED. So let's throw another inner section here. The reason we're using a grey background is just to create a little bit of distinguishment between the sections. You don't want to keep it all white because it can get a bit samey. So I decided to go with this grey background. Like that. You'll notice that we've got a bit of a different layout here. So we've got one column up here and then three here. So I'm going to add another inner section. Just like that. And you'll notice I've made a small mistake here and I've set a background to the inner section. So let me just take that out and add it to the main section. So just drag this over to the left to make it transparent. And let's make a correction there. There we go. Now I need to delete this column because we've got a heading first. And we need to add another column in this section. So just right click on the columns and click add new column. And we've now got these three columns here. One thing you'll notice though is that in the reference website, we've got a little bit of padding around the services. And we'll sort that out in just a moment. Instead of putting padding, actually, what you see I've done is that I've select content width and set it to 980 pixels. So we're going to do that here. So you can select the inner section. Go to layout. Let's put this to 980. Okie doke. Right, first things first, let's add a heading in. I'm going to use this one from up here. I'm going to copy and paste it into this column. I'm going to center align it, and I'm just going to change the text. So we've used the text our, and then after the span we're going to put services, like so. Okay, and so one really good tip when you're making sections like this that are using the same elements just with a few minor changes is to make one and then duplicate it across. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So in this section we've got an icon. Like this, but we've got a different one over here. We've got a little service title, a little user here, And so I'm going to go into icon library. I'm going to search user, and I'm just going to choose one that I want. Let's see which one we chose over here. So it looks as though we don't have the same one on this website. It's probably because I'm using an older version of Elementor here, so we'll just use a different one. That's no problem. We can use this user shield icon here. It's aligned to the left, and we're going to copy the color from this blue button onto this icon over here. So let's grab the color, go back onto the icon just by clicking on it, and select the color there. Cool. We've then got just a little bit of text under it, so we've got a title and then some text. So let's grab a heading, just like that. Let's type in service title. Let's make sure that we set this to open sans. And then we just got a little bit of text. Again, easy to reuse some content that we've already got. So let's copy this up here. Paste it in. Let's make sure we get rid of that padding that we've set on this element. Just like that. And let's make this font size just a little bit smaller by deleting it here. Amazing. And so we've got one of these columns made here. So all we need to do now is hover over the column and duplicate. It will make another one. You want to delete the column next to it. Repeat the process until you have 3. Delete that column. And then we can duplicate this entire inner section as well. Just like that. Now I want to make just a bit of space because everything feels just a little bit cramped here, okay? So, click on the top of the inner section, go to advanced, and let's add some margin, because remember margin is space outside of an element. Let's unlink the values and let's add 40 pixels to the top, 40 to the bottom. And that should do it. So we've got a little bit of space between everything. And now we've got this section. To change icons, you've seen how we can select one. So just to add the relevant icon on, you click on the icon, icon library, and you can choose whatever you want, like so. You can then change the service title and the text relevant to it, and you'll have a nice little services section there. Let's see how it looks in mobile. So again, pretty decent. You could center align these if you wanted to. I'm going to leave them left aligned because I don't mind them left aligned, but you could, if you wanted to, center align everything here. But we're going to leave that as it is. And so now we've got a testimonials section underneath. This section's really, really easy to make. So let's replicate this now. So we need an inner section as per normal. Like so. We need another one because we've got a title and then we've got that testimonial slider underneath. So you just want to add this here. If it's going to listen to me. Nope, let's try that again. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to delete one column from this section. Right click, delete. I'm going to copy the title from this section. Paste it in to this column. And we've used the text, what people say about us. So let's do that as well. What people say, and then within the span, about us. Okay, we can delete a column here as well. And then in the element selector, search for testimonial. You can find testimonial carousel. Throw that into the column, and you'll see we have exactly the same thing that we have on this website. You can change the testimonials and the picture associated to the testimonial by just clicking on the element, and you'll see this slides tab. Click on the tab, you can edit the text and the image associated to it, the name and the title too. Again, let's just check mobile. Awesome, looks good. So let's just see what we've created here. So we've got this testimonial section, we've got the services section, the who we are section, the call to action, and this nice little hero section, and then our header up here as well. Okay, so we're almost there. All we need to do now is make these links active by assigning them to the pages available, and we need to create a footer. And you can see on our reference website the footer is just simple. We've got the logo and a couple of different links there. Okay, so let's just click update on the Elementor tab to our left here. That'll update it. Click the menu icon on the top left and let's exit to the dashboard. So to assign pages to your links in the menu, you can either do one or two things. So you can click on the custom link and provide the actual link that you have. So for example, to add one to the about, you just put your web address, so www.website.com/about. Or you can add it in the pages section. I haven't created any pages yet, so I'm not going to do that. But if you've built this out as a full website rather than a landing page, feel free to do that here. So I'm just going to quickly save. And then we're going to move straight on to the footer. So we'll hover over templates on the left and go to theme builder. And just as we added a header, we can add a footer too. So I'm going to click add new footer. I'm going to call it what it is, a footer, and click create template. So I've already created it over here. So I'm just going to grab the color from this section. So we've got 3 columns, one with the logo, one with nothing in the middle, and then these links on the right. So one thing we'll actually need to do before we get into this, in fact we'll build the footer and I'll show you what we need to do, because we'll need to build out a menu for this section here as well. And so we'll do that in just a moment. So I've got this logo on the left and the color from this section. So let's make a inner section. And let's add another column. And now let's go and grab the color from this section over here. So the color is 1B, 1F, 2, 3. Click on the main section, style, background classic, color, copy and paste it in. There we go. Now it looks like to me we've got maybe just a different width column here in the middle. So let's just double check that. So we've got 44% width on this column over here. I'm going to just even that out to 45. Or in fact, let's do it this way. Let's create a 25% column here, a 25% column here, and set this one to 50. There we go. So let's add that heading in, or your logo. Again, use an image if you've got an image logo. I'm going to use text for the purposes of this tutorial. And so I'm going to copy out the text as so, just as placeholder. Another span tag, so span style equals not exclamation marks, speech marks, font hyphen weight 600. Close the tag, just like that. let's change the style to white, the color to white, the font weight to 200. Just add the space in here as well. There we go. So we've got our logo, and now we need a menu. So I'm going to quickly save this by clicking this little arrow, save as draft. Go back to the dashboard, and then we want to go into appearance and menus. Click on create a new menu. I'm going to call this footer menu. And then I'm going to add some custom links in here. So we've got, on our one, we've got get a quote and FAQs. Change this to whatever is relevant to your business. So get a quote. Remember this hashtag as well, if you haven't got a link yet. And then FAQs. Save the menu. Okay, so let's go back into our footer. So templates, theme builder. Edit with Elementor. And let's throw in a nav menu on this column to the right here. There we go. And you can see that it's already selected footer menu for me. If it doesn't, just click on the drop down and you'll see. And so we just need to change the font here just a little bit. So typography under the style tab. Let's go Open Sans. Let's keep the font weight at 200. And let's turn the text white, like so. And I want to make sure people know when they're hovering over this, so I'm going to keep this underline section on the content tab the same. And what I'm going to do is go to Style. And so when you go into Hover, you can see that the pointer color can be changed here. So I'm going to change that to white as well. So every time we hover over something, it gets that underline. One really important thing here is to make sure that when you go to mobile view, that it doesn't go down to this bar like so, because you don't want that here. So let's go back to desktop. Let's go to toggle button. Actually, no, back onto the content tab. And you see this little section here that says breakpoint. We're going to select none. Okay, so when we go to mobile, it stays like that. Now you can see in mobile view, this doesn't look amazing, but we're just going to do two things to make this look a little bit better. We're going to center align the menu, and we're going to center align the logo as well. I'm going to click publish, add a condition just like we did for the header, save and close. Now let's go and look at what our website looks like. I'm going to click on this little My WordPress bit at the top, visit site, and you can see the website looks pretty decent. It's only taken us an hour or so to get this result. I hope you found this helpful. If you have, let me know in the comments. Let me know how I can improve. This is my first really full-length long video, and so I can appreciate it may probably get a little bit tedious in places, so please let me know how I can improve. But if you found this helpful, please consider using the links that I've got in my description, because I will get a little bit of commission from that, and that will help me kind of keep this channel alive, and it helps me to keep these tutorials free for you as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I really hope to kind of see you soon. Awesome, I hope you found that helpful, and if you don't have huge amounts of time available right now, I'm going to package this theme up and I'm going to offer it on my website just for $9. I'm going to keep it really cheap so that you guys can access it free. You can import that in Elementor. There are plenty of tutorials. I will link to that in the description. So if you don't want to take the time to build this out, I've put the link to buying that in my description and the tutorial to upload that to your website in just a couple of clicks. So I hope you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments if you did. Subscribe, like, share, do what you can. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to hear from you soon.